Hello, 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 everyone. Susan Brennan here for a bonus episode of Growth and Grace because why not? As I shared with you guys a couple days ago, I'm going through this 30-day challenge. And so there's two different challenges. The first one, I'm putting myself through my 30-day accountability program, which is insanely intense, but also very effective. The second 30-day challenge that I'm actually going through is from Russell Brunson, and we're talking about, we're in the portion of the challenge where we're talking about our origin story. Hey Karen, happy Saturday. Just got to hang out with your girl last night. Love her. And I wanted to dive into a little bit more detail. So you're going to hear some extra backstory, behind the scenes, stories I've never shared before, reveals throughout these upcoming videos that I'll be doing. So today's story is going to be about the great plastic water bottle debacle of 2013. And you guys, it is so ridiculously dramatic what it turned into. And like, it was so stupid. But in the moment, it was actually a really huge aha moment for me, as Oprah would say, kind of one of those light bulb moments of, oh my gosh, are you kidding that this is happening? Like, this is my life right now. Are you joking? So ridiculous. So I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory. Hi, Suan. Hey, Lisa. I see you guys hopped on. Hey, Heather. Hey, you guys, or your gals, all of you lovely ladies hopping on here. So I'm going to give you this backstory, and it might sound a little bit complainy because I'm going to tell it like I'm in that time, and at the time it felt very complainy because I was a very, I didn't know how to be grateful at that time in my life, and so I was just annoyed a lot and irritated a lot. So it might sound a little bit like, whoa, that's not the Susan we know, and it's because in 2013, I wasn't the Susan that you know now. Thankfully, personal growth, personal development. So this all started back when I was working one of the jobs. And if you watch my earlier video, my origin story, where it all started, I mentioned just, working some jobs that I didn't really enjoy, that weren't really fulfilling, that I just didn't love. And we've all had that, right? We've all at points in time, for the most part, worked at jobs where we're like, this sucks. I don't enjoy this. Can't wait to be done. Kind of that, like, I'm paying my dues, fine, but this is not what I want long term. So I was in one of these jobs, and I actually remember when I first got the job, I was so excited. Like, I'd been looking for a job, and it was my first real, like, career potential type job after college, and I just was like, oh, I'm so excited. I have, you get a job and you're excited about it. That quickly faded away because here I was, early 20s, I had a college degree, and I was freaking like filling out spreadsheets and making sure that the office I was working at had enough pens. I mean, come on. Ugh. So it felt at the time, and I think, again, we can all, admit it or not, but I think most of us have experienced working at a place where we're like, this is so not for me. This feels like it's beneath me. Like, anybody could stock pens and make sure that we were ordering enough pens for the office. Like, that's not special to me. That's not something that only my skill set can manage. That's not like a great fit for my personality. It was so blah, and it was every day. And I remember, being the office manager, which used some of my skills. I'm very organized. I'm friendly. I could greet people and check them in and get, take care of stuff, but it wasn't really utilizing my deepest talents. And I remember one particular day, we got a notice from headquarters that we were going to be having some budget cuts. And so to just be really extra mindful of our expenses, right? So this included, business travel, just book it a little bit in advance so that the fees aren't as high, and like, try to not check as many bags, and like little things. And so for the office manager, it was, making sure that when we were ordering office supplies, that we were batching the orders so we weren't spending as much on shipping, and that we were, really just being cautious of how much we were using of different things. So we weren't just being wasteful, right? So like things that when you look back, you think we probably could have been doing that ahead of time anyway, but especially as this being brought to our focus, we're really going to focus on it. So this is where the story really kicks off. And I'm like getting, it's so funny to retell this because I haven't thought of it for years. And then now I'm getting back in it going, oh my gosh, I remember how worked up I was in the moment. Because one of the things we realized we were spending quite a bit of money on was bottled water. And we just always had bottled water around and we kept it in the fridge. And we also, right next to the refrigerator, had our sink that had a filtered water spout in it that worked perfectly. So are you seeing where I'm going with this? We had filtered water that tasted great right next to the fridge where we kept the bottled water. So one of our approaches to this, and I say our because it was a company decision and I was the messenger. So one of our approaches was, we're not going to be ordering as much bottled water. Let's leave the bottled water for our guests who are going to be coming in and possibly then leaving, so they obviously could take their water with them. And if you're an employee working in the office, just bring in a cup, or we had some mugs at the office, and just get filtered water from the sink, right? Simple solution. But it was going to be saving us quite a bit of money. So we're doing this, and one of the guys in the office who already, you know how there's sometimes just the person that irritates you like a lot, and for whatever reason, you just kind of rub each other the wrong way. This was that guy for me. He already was irritating to me. And he was drinking like 10 plus bottled waters every day. And he would get a brand new bottle every time, and then he would get it and he would crush it. He like had a plastic bin in his cubicle where he would just be throwing, at least he recycled, all of his water bottles, and he would dump it out each day. And he was going through an insane amount of bottled water. And so it had been communicated with the office like, hey, let's leave bottled water for our guests and we'll use the filtered water in the sink. And he just was not on board with it. He was kind of one of those like rules don't pertain to me type people, which as an extreme rule follower is especially like obnoxious. I'm way better at it now, but it still kind of gets to me. But I remember at the time being so annoyed, like this guy, he's just not cooperating. And I'm the one that's getting the communication about like, hey, we need to cut back on spending, and hey, we really need to stop ordering as much water. And I can't just like stop ordering water. Like that wasn't part of the arrangement. And so I'm communicating with him. So I send him a message and just communicate it with him again, just like a friendly reminder. Hey, you know, we're really trying to cut back on expenses, and it would be really helpful if you would drink filtered water instead of, you know, bottled water. He wasn't hearing it. He just wasn't about it, whatever. And he got so passive aggressive, and he left a note for me in the fridge where all the bottled water was. And he left a note that I don't even remember what it said in the moment, but it was super passive aggressive and like, you know, we work here too, and we're just as much deserving of bottled water as our guests, or something like that. And I'm like, you guys, you don't know me back then. Really, very few of you knew me back then, but I was so offended by everything. In fact, I just did a video on that the other day, like beyond offended. And I took that as such a personal attack. I was like livid, and I was so worked up, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy, how am I going to handle it? Like, it was so enraged that someone would treat someone like this, and oh my gosh. And I was totally blowing it out of proportion, but it was also really irritating for me. And it was I just felt this fire rise up in me. And so I walked back to his cubicle and very calmly said, hey, you know, do you have a few minutes? I'd like to talk to you. And so, and he actually did, which was shocking to me. But you know, if you've ever like ridden adrenaline where you're like, wow, normal me would not be doing this, but for whatever reason, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do this thing. And I was totally riding my adrenaline, because normal Susan would have just turned into a doormat and would have just been like stewing on the inside, furious and annoyed and irritated and feeling so disrespected, but not saying anything. But this like adrenaline fueled Susan was like very calmly, hey, I'd like to talk about this water thing. And so we went into a conference room, and I very like clearly and very calmly, I maintained composure the whole time, as did he. I mean, I will give him credit for that, because he could get real fired up about stuff. And we talked it out, and I was like, hey, I'm not trying to be a pain about this. We're trying to cut back on expenses. I'm trying to do what I can do, and it would be really helpful if you could join me in this. And I really don't appreciate the passive aggressive note. And I'm saying it, if you've ever had an out of body experience, as I'm saying it, I'm like, holy crap, am I saying these words out loud? Like, are these words coming out of my mouth right now? Because old doormat Susan would not have said anything. And so this new, like, fired up Susan is actually speaking her mind and actually standing up for herself. And it felt so good. It felt so good. And I was also ridiculously nervous. Like, I'm sure my armpits were sweating, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying this. I can't believe these words are, like, this whole scenario is happening. And we complete the conversation, and he's like, just going to try to do a little bit better. I honestly don't remember what we agreed upon, but it felt resolved. I remember that. It felt resolved. We went on our way. I remember still being, like, really irritated that it happened in the first place. And I remember getting home from work that evening. And you get, again, if you've ever had that adrenaline rush, you just kind of ride it and then you're in it. And it takes a little bit for it to subside for you to actually come back to reality and kind of have that, like, whoa, did that just happen moment. So this was me that evening. I totally had that moment, and I was like, I can't believe that happened. Did that really happen? Oh my gosh. Wow. And I really spoke my mind, and I really stood up for myself. And I got kind of re-fired up in a really inspiring way where I was like, wow, Susan, you did it. And you maintained composure. Like, you didn't, like, totally lose it or cry or yell or anything. Like, you just maintained calm composure. And it gave me a glimpse of what was possible for me. And I hadn't really experienced that sort of invigorating, like, empowerment as far as I can remember. I really hadn't. And so that moment, so I'm having this experience after work, like, wow, that really happened. And you go, girl, like, good job. And then I was greeted with the whole, are you flipping kidding me? That it was a plastic water bottle that started this. Like, this whole thing, this whole, like, life empowering, life-changing moment was started by a water bottle. It felt so stupid. And so then I'm like, oh my gosh, did I really just make that big of a thing out of plastic water bottle? Like, did I do it? And you guys, I'm like, I want to be earth friendly, and I'm all about recycling, and I don't think we need to go through just tons of plastic water bottles. But I'm also not, like, crazy about it. Like, I'm not going to be in your face like, are you kidding? That's your second water bottle this month. Oh my gosh. So, you know, balance. But it was just, the whole scenario was just frustrating to me. And so I had this, like, this clash almost of, Susan, this is, like, the dumbest thing that's what started it. But also, like, way to go, girl. You stood up for yourself, and you like, really took a stand, and you really spoke your mind, and you maintained composure, and you did it, like, confidently, and, like, you addressed it head on instead of shrinking back, which old me shrunk back a lot and didn't speak up because I didn't want to hurt people's feelings. I didn't want to offend anybody. I didn't want to, like, ruffle any feathers or rock the boat. I just kind of, all I wanted was just, like, peace and calm, and just like, oh, it's okay. Is everybody's okay? And I kind of lived in that, like, frantic calm of wanting everyone to feel okay. And so I'm certainly not going to ruffle any feathers. And if anyone else ruffles feathers, I would do whatever I could to, like, bring peace, because I hated being around conflict. I hated being around unsettledness and, like, frustration. And so I just walked away from a lot of things where I could have stood and, like, spoken up. So all of this to say, like, this whole scenario, what it did for me was it gave me a glimpse of what was possible when I actually stood up for myself and actually spoke my mind and actually, like, confronted the issue head on instead of hoping it would resolve itself. Because so many years of my life, I was waiting for someone else to resolve the issue, for someone else to come up with a solution, for someone else to make a decision, for someone else to step in and say something, for someone else to just change how they're acting so I don't have to say anything. They'll probably just figure it out, and then it'll be fine. And I know so many of us have struggled with that, where we're waiting for everybody else to change things and shift things and say something different and do something different and stand up for us when we're not willing to. And it took me years after this, so I say it with such conviction now, because I didn't have it then, that it's not up to anybody else. It's not up to someone else to bring it. He was not going to approach me about the situation and say, hey, let's have a calm conversation and figure out a solution. It wasn't going to happen. And he wasn't willing to do that. And we've all been guilty of not being willing to do that. I'm just sharing one example here, but it's not up to someone else to make the decision. And you'll be hearing more stories from me throughout, this, as I'm going through this 30-day challenge. More examples of some embarrassing stories and some behind the scenes stories and just some light bulb moment revelation stories. And what I'm really wanting to share from this particular one, and what I'm realizing is a pattern of mine leading up to, it wasn't only but just a couple years ago when I really discovered that I am the one to make my own decisions and to create the life I want, and that it's not up to someone else. And I look back at that whole job and what it transpired into, and other jobs I've had since then, and just looking at how many times I was waking up going, oh, is this really my day? Like, I really have to go in and make sure that there's enough pens in the office. Like, this is not my passion. I don't feel lit up about it. I'm not excited about it. I don't feel like I'm making a difference. I'm not really using my talents. And yet I remember showing up each day kind of waiting for someone else to make that change for me. Like, someone else was just gonna walk in and be like, hey, we've heard all of your thoughts that you haven't been sharing with anyone, and we've decided to offer you a dream job that you don't even know what it is yet, but we've figured it out for you. So we're just gonna drop it here right in your lap, and you just can start right now. You guys, that's not how it works. As lovely as that was, and I literally would daydream about, while I'm at this job, I would daydream about people coming in and offering me like an amazing job. And it doesn't happen. And that's not how it works. It's not up to other people. So the reason that I'm sharing this particular story, and the reason why I've made it so dramatic, is because I'm retelling it exactly how it felt for me in that moment. And if you're living in whether it's a job or a relationship or whatever scenario you're in where you're feeling that, like, are you kidding that this is my life right now? And you just know it's not right, and you're not in alignment, and it's not exciting or fun or any of that. It's up to you to make a different choice. So whether it's a plastic water bottle situation for you, and it takes something so seemingly ridiculous to light that fire within you, let it happen and go with it. Or whether you just finally realize and you hit that moment where you're like, I'm not going to do this anymore. This is not, like, I'm so ready to be doing something different and ready to be living my dream life. Then take that stand for yourself, because no one else can take it for you. People can stand with you, and people can reflect back to you. And I'm so thankful for people in my life who have been very bold with me in sharing like their experience of me and reflecting back to me like, hey, that's not working for you anymore. And being willing to stand with me as I kind of fumble through and figure out my next step. But it was up to me even then to take the step. So I want you to, as you're listening to the story, if you listen to it live or if you're listening to the replay, I want you to just take whatever moments are inspiring for you and recognize what you are capable of, because you can use any moment in your life to start fresh and to take a stand for yourself like you never have before. And even if it's a ridiculous one, like a freaking plastic water bottle, let it be a moment, let it be a catalyst for you to step into something new. Because I'm telling you now, like, anytime I get a glimpse of that memory, it's such a different experience for me now to look and think, oh my gosh, I would handle that so differently now. But it's because in that moment, I took the opportunity to be empowered and to speak my truth and to stand up for myself and not be a doormat anymore. Like, that was a very pivotal moment for me to stop being a doormat. So whatever you're going through, wherever you're feeling like a doormat, look for opportunities to finally take a stand for yourself and to finally stand up and speak your mind and to finally make a different choice in the moment, because it's only up to you. I would love to be able to say, oh, you can just, call this number and they'll handle it for you, or go to www.we'vegotyu.com and they'll handle it, but they won't. So that would be neat, but I would be lying, and I'm not about that. So with that, you guys, I'm going to wrap this particular story, but you're going to be hearing more. You're going to be hearing some other very vulnerable shares. I just wrote a list of them down today, and I'm like, holy crap, those were like some of my top most embarrassing moments as being an adult, and I will be sharing them with you because they also were very pivotal, and the lessons I've learned since because of them are worth sharing. So I'm going to share them, and I'm excited to I'm excited to be done sharing them because they're a little bit embarrassing, but I'm also thankful to be on the other side of them now, because now I have the lessons that I get to share and the lessons I get to live with each day. So with that, you guys, I'm going to hop off from this one, but you'll be seeing some more bonus Growth and Grace episodes where I'm going to be walking through some other really embarrassing stories. So I hope you join me for those. I don't have set schedules for them because I'm just kind of going through the training and then doing the action as I get to that part of the training. So I don't know how long each training is, but probably there might be another one today. There might be another one before Growth and Grace this week. We'll find out. It's going to be great. So with that, you guys, I'm seeing that I missed a whole lot of comments from Sweet Lisa as I was going through. So thank you for joining me and popping on and commenting throughout. I appreciate the support. Big high five to you. And I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.